To everybody out there that is panicking about the direction of college football, I get that there's been big changes, but I actually think you should be excited. I don't think you should be panicking, and I'm going to tell you why. Number one, this merger of the SEC and the Big Ten is a big step forward to the NCAA being taken out of being the middleman in college football. They're feckless. They have no power, and it's something that needs to happen. And this merger is the big step that we've been waiting on as this thing kind of speeds up. Because when you have the Big Ten and the SEC, the big dogs in college football, that is going to bring some set of rules back to NIL and the transfer portal because they actually have power. 3, we're headed to a 12-team playoff, and I hope and I pray that we have as much parity as we had last year, that's the new norm and not an anomaly. We have conference expansion, or as I call it, conference reduction. The SEC is adding Texas and Oklahoma. The Big Ten is adding USC, Oregon, Washington, and UCLA. The ACC, yeah, they're adding SMU, they're adding Stanford, they're adding Cal. That's not as big a news, but we are seeing better teams join bigger conferences, which is going to lead to better games. Now, everybody who's an ACC fan or a Big 12 fan that is worried that you're going to be left in the dust, I get it. But we have to remember, to the victors go the spoils. The SEC and the Big Ten are the big dogs. The ACC, I don't think, is going anywhere like the Pac-12. The Big 12 is not going to disappear like the Pac-12. But you are going to have to fall in line because you don't have the power. And probably the most important thing, the on-the-field product has never been better. Has never been better than it's been right now, and that is number one, and that will always be number one. To all those who are worried about coaches that are leaving college to go to the NFL, that has always happened. Stop freaking out about it. Liam Cohen from Kentucky had been in the NFL. Jeff Hafley at Boston College was literally on the hot seat going into this next year, and Jim Harbaugh is truly an NFL guy. There are some new paths being carved. You look at head coaches in the group of 5 going to be coordinators at the Power 5, like Sean Lewis, who's now the head coach of San Diego State. That has nothing to do with the NFL. Kane Womack leaving South Alabama as the head coach to be the defensive coordinator at Alabama has nothing to do with the NFL. So, lastly, we are getting rid of divisions in big-time college football, which is awesome, which is going to give us the 2 best teams to play in the conference championship, so we don't have a Big Ten situation where you have Sister Margaret of the poor on one side and the big dogs on the other side. So while change does freak people out, I think we are actually heading toward the golden age of college football and hopefully college athletics. I'm going to bring in my good friend, soon-to-be father of 3, David Cohn, former Michigan quarterback, my brother Blaine Crane, former Western State Colorado wide receiver. David, a lot of people are worried with NIL and the transfer portal. Now they see the SEC and the Big Ten is forming an advisory committee, which we all know this is what is going to replace the NCAA in college football. It's moving at warp speed, and then they, may fight the Klingons for interstellar domination after that. But the thing I like the most about it is that I believe the power those 2 conferences will have, and them working together. It's basically like America and the Soviet Union working together after World War II. But I think it can bring some rules and button up some of the craziness that we see in the NIL and the transfer portal because, again, they do have power. What say you?
Yeah, look, it's only February, too. Do I need to remind y'all? It's only February of 2024, and we're having this happen, and Ben Shapiro's the #1 rapper in the world. It's just, times are crazy right now. But the SEC and the Big Ten coming together to form this partnership, this national consortium of sorts, can go one of 2 directions as far as I'm concerned. The first one is this will be like Gondor and Rohan come together to save Middle-earth and create this unbelievable partnership and defeat Sauron.
One ring to rule them all, and in
darkness shall bind them. Or this will be more like the alliance formed between Jim and Dwight in The Office, where really it's just an alliance in name only. One party's not really that invested. The other one's all in. If it's the latter, it'll end up being about as meaningful as the alliance the Big Ten formed during COVID.
I just don't see that happening, right?
Now that the SEC's involved, I agree with you. I don't see that happening. But if it's the former, right? If the former analogy comes to pass, then this is the beginning of college football splintering off from all of the other sports and from the NCAA. Now, look, we've talked ad nauseum about the NCAA really providing no leadership on some of these biggest matters, and they've had enough time, right? The sample size is large enough. One thing I do want to point out, though, is the NFL has 32 teams to manage, right? Roger Goodell needs to manage 32 teams in one sport. Major League Baseball commissioner has 30 teams to manage in one sport. The NCAA oversees 24 different sports at 350 schools. That is a tall task. Right? That is a tall task. So to me, if college football splinters off from other sports, it may be beneficial for all involved, right? Like you may have golf teams and volleyball teams and water polo teams that don't get caught up in having to switch conferences and fly all across the country for their matches when really football is what's driving a lot of these moves. So that's the way I see it. We'll see how this plays out. But the Big Ten and the SEC are going to lead this charge. What it means for all of the other schools in the conferences, we don't know yet, but they're not going to get left out in the cold.
Yeah, and Blaine, I talked to a source of mine that I trust that's about as close to the situation as possible. And basically what he said was the ACC and the Big 12 aren't going anywhere, right? Even with the craziness we see with Florida State. But you are going to have to play second fiddle to the Big Ten and the SEC. I'll go back to what I said. To the victors go the spoils. You want to make the rules? Then dominate. And that's what we've seen the SEC and the Big Ten be able to do. Not that the ACC doesn't play good ball. Not that you shouldn't be excited about the Big 12 and who they have added. But this is going to be led by the power brokers of college football. And I understand they're not going to be squeaky clean, right? I can sit here and rip the NCAA on one hand and realize that there may be some things that go on behind closed doors that aren't exactly pure, but it is not going to be as downgraded as what the NCAA has done. And I want to quote Rick Pitino for those of you who think that maybe this will bleed into college basketball. Rick Pitino, this is a quote, says it's a very difficult time in college basketball because it's free agency. So I think the NCAA enforcement staff should just be disbanded. It's a joke, not because I dislike them, but they're of no value anymore. Because Tennessee, they'll take them to court. Virginia, they'll take them to court and they'll win. So I'm very interested to see if this bleeds over to the second biggest moneymaker in college athletics, which is basketball. I don't see that happening yet, but you're starting to hear more of these college basketball coaches kind of talk about it. What do you think about the whole deal?
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if it bled into all sports. But when it comes to football, can we just do whatever we need to do to get Greg Sankey in charge?
Yeah.
That's what I want. The NCAA, two things. Let's get as far away as the NCAA we can as possible, and let's get closer to Greg Sankey. Let's build around Greg Sankey. He is the dark leader. Nick's gone now, all right? Look at him. Met him. First of all, the guy's a genius. Great guy. He knows what he's doing. He can adapt. He can be in full control. We can be comfortable.
Yeah.
I do think at this point, look, everyone's scared of a power couple, all right? Everyone is. And Big Ten, the SEC, that's what they are. Not everybody can be the sergeant. Not everybody can be the captain. Some guys need a medic, all right? We need the machine gun guy.
Yeah, I need a spotter.
Right? We need a spotter. We need a sniper, all right? You have to fall in line when you need to. And if you're the ACC and you're the Big 12, you know this.
Yeah.
You know you're not the ones. Hell, Florida State just went undefeated and you didn't even get in the playoff. Fall in line. It's okay, son. You'll get there one day.
Hey, YouTube, what's up? We are almost to 120,000 subs. Let's get there. Let's go ahead and blow that thing up to 200. So if you haven't subscribed yet, if you enjoy the content, or you're just a good Samaritan, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and turn those notifications on.